Okay, welcome everyone to today's weekly video conference tracking the pandemic's impact on ethnic populations. I'm Sandy Close, Director of Ethnic Media Services. A special thanks to the Blue Shield of California Foundation and the California Healthcare Foundation for supporting this initiative. And thank you to our media colleagues who've been reporting on these briefings and for joining us today. Now we will begin. We are honored to have the Federal Trade Commission, which for years has worked with ethnic media to promote awareness of consumer fraud, on today's briefing. Our moderator is Pilar Marrero, veteran reporter and author with La Opinión and with EMS. Pilar, I turn the microphone over to you.
Thank you, Sandy. Good morning, everyone. Good Friday. The Federal Trade Commission is an independent agency of the U.S. government that aims to protect consumers and ensure a strong competitive market by enforcing consumer protection and antitrust laws. For weeks, the FTC has been documenting a dramatic rise in scams associated with the pandemic and offering tips to consumers on its website for how to deal with financial problems caused by the economic turmoil. Today's briefing is particularly important because ethnic media plays such an important role in warning our communities of the efforts to scam and defraud them. This is a role we must reinforce in moments of crisis such as this pandemic. And now joining us is Monica Vaca, Associate Director of the Division of Consumer Response and Operations for the FTC's Bureau of Consumer Protection. Monica, welcome, and the stage is yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, and thank you for giving me a chance to talk about scams and how they're affecting people, especially during this pandemic. Obviously, such an important time that we're communicating about the various ways that people are trying to take your money and your information. So let's get started. Big picture, what we see at the FTC, and this is true always, is that scammers follow the headlines. And what's in the headline right now is COVID-19. Everything is about coronavirus all the time. And scammers are following that lead as well. So we're seeing them pitch so-called treatments, so-called cures for the coronavirus without any proof that they work. Of course, this is illegal. We're seeing everything from miracle cures and vaccine offers and home test kits to scams that target people on Medicare. So that's the headlines that they're following, but they're also following the money. They're pretending to be the government. They are trying to get people's economic impact payments. Those are the stimulus payments that the IRS is sending out. And they're trying to rip off small businesses as well by saying they can get them business loans when they cannot do that. They're lying about the money to be made by selling cures and treatments, which are also fake themselves. So those are some of the things that we're seeing. I think you've got up on your screen a PowerPoint presentation, and if you could just go back to the first slide, we can just get started. So I want to show you some examples of the various things that we're looking at. Just if you could go back, yeah, here we go. Why don't we go ahead and start with this one? So what you're looking at here is it's a fake email. It's a fake email, and you'll see that it's got the World Health Organization's logo on it. And this is a common tactic. What scammers do is they send emails, they send texts. They're trying to get your personal information. They're trying to get your money. They're trying to load malware onto your computer. And this is a nice example of one that would do that, would put that malware on your computer. We've also seen that scammers have brought up lots of domain names that have bought up lots of domain names that include the word coronavirus or a misspelling, a slight misspelling of the word. Don't visit those sites. They will put malware on your device. So here's the tip, and here's what people need to know. Do not click on links from sources that you don't know. It can download a virus onto your computer or onto your device. So please be careful of that. Okay, let's go to the next slide. I want to show you a fake text message. Here's one, and this one's nice. It's in Spanish, so you can see sort of how these are coming at people. This one's been circulating on WhatsApp. It's in Spanish, and it's advertising money for people who are quarantined at home. And you know, scammers are going to go to pretty much any length to make their message look real. You know, again, what you see are some of those little signals. You see that eagle icon there. That's supposedly the executive office of the President of the United States. It is not actually from the office of the President of the United States. This is a typical tactic that scammers use to try to make a message look like something you can trust by making it look like it's affiliated with the government. And we see lots and lots of those types of complaints and those types of reports. This one supposedly had a list of people who could apply for a government grant, which was basically anybody. It had misspellings and cut off sentences, and so you can see that it's a phony. So here's the tip for you. You know that this text is most likely a scam because the federal government is not reaching out to you by text message. They're not reaching out to you by email, phone, or social media to give you your economic relief payment in this pandemic. That's not the way they're reaching out to you. Okay, so let's go to the next slide, because apart from fake text messages, we're also seeing, and I alluded to this early on, cures, supposed cures for COVID-19 and for cancer. Here's one. So we filed a complaint to stop the sellers of whole leaf organics from making claims that Thrive, and that's this pill here, a pill with vitamin C and herbal extracts, is scientifically proven to treat an illness like COVID-19. And you know, they were also saying that several of their products treat cancer as well. But according to the FTC's complaint, there was no solid scientific backing for any of those claims. So we can move on to the next one. You know, so what is the FTC doing about all of these scams that we're seeing in the marketplace? Well, we're doing a bunch of different things. One of them is law enforcement, as you can see from that last slide. One of them is education, and that's part of what this is. We're trying to make sure we get the word out there so people are aware that these scams are out there and that they know how to spot them and avoid losing money. But we're also sending lots and lots of warning letters. We're warning companies that are pitching cures and treatments with no scientific backing, telling them to cut that out. We are warning phone providers, voice over internet protocol providers, VoIP providers we call them, that help robocallers make coronavirus related scam calls. So, you know, all of those calls that you get on your phone, we are trying to warn the VoIP providers to cut that out. And then we're also sending warning letters to multi-level marketing companies that both pitch unproven cures and make false claims about the earnings that you might get by joining that company. So, so those are some of the warning letters we've done. We've also brought some cases, and what you're looking at right here is a site for a company that the FTC sued. This company allegedly claimed to be affiliated with the Small Business Administration. It lured businesses into applying for the Paycheck Protection Program loan through this company, but in fact, there was no tie to the Small Business Administration and this company. And so we brought that case a couple of weeks ago. And we brought a case against a company, and I mentioned this one, the Whole Leaf Organics, that said that its product could cure COVID-19 when it had no proof that it could do that. So what can you do to learn about more of these types of scams that are out there? Well, one thing you can do is you can go to ftc.gov/coronavirus. That is a web page that is dedicated to, you know, telling the public what it is that we are seeing and what it is that the FTC is doing in this fight. For businesses, you can visit ftc.gov/coronavirus/business for regular updates, and you can subscribe. Okay, and then I wanted to share with you, if we can go to the next slide, some data. So one of the things that we do at the FTC is we hear from the public. We hear from people across the country about what it is that they're experiencing. And when we hear what they're telling us, it gives us a little bit of insight into what's going on in the marketplace. Actually, it gives us a lot of insight into what's going on in the marketplace. And what you're looking at with this, in this slide and in this screen, are the complaints that the FTC has received that are related in some way to COVID-19. And you can see that we've broken it down into 4 categories: fraud, other types of consumer protection problems, identity theft, and do not call. And you'll see that the fraud bar, that teal bar, is the biggest one. And if you break that bar down a little bit more to try to understand what it is that people are telling us about, one thing you'll notice is that the #1 category that people are filing a report about are travel and vacations. Now, these are not complaints from people saying that they were, typically, are not complaints saying that they were deceived when they bought made their travel plans, but rather these are primarily complaints about cancellations and refunds. And of course, this is something that many of us have experienced, is in this pandemic, travel has been curtailed pretty dramatically, and a lot of people have been forced to cancel their travel plans. And that's what you're seeing there. We're seeing lots and lots of reports about those travel and vacations, and we're seeing a lot of dollar loss associated with that. That's about $12 million there that people have reported that they've lost just on that. But if you look at the big picture numbers, you'll see we have more than 45,000 reports overall, over all of those categories, and that the fraud losses are $33 million. So if you subtract the, let's say 13 million or so in travel and vacation losses that people have reported, you're still talking about more than $20 million of fraud losses that people are reporting. So that is something to keep in mind and something to know, right? We want people to be very, very aware about websites that aren't delivering products that people order, about text messages offering treatments, cures, or updates on your stimulus payment, health products, all of those things that we talked about earlier. Those are things that we're seeing. So how can you protect yourself? Well, knowledge is power. So one thing we hear, again, scammers are peddling those cures, those treatments with no proof that they work. And that's an important thing for you to know. Right now, there is nothing on the market that's proven to cure COVID-19. So that's an important thing to know. Anybody who tells you to pay for a service, whatever that is, with a gift card, a money transfer, cash, or Bitcoin, by telling you that they're going to help you with some coronavirus-related problem, that's a scam. That's a scammer, especially if they say they're from the government. The government does not accept gift cards as payment. They are not from the government. Do not go out, buy gift cards, money transfers, or Bitcoin for somebody who calls you or texts you out of the blue. Third, never give your Social Security bank account or credit card number to anybody who contacts you by phone, email, or text. We have heard a lot of people telling us that they're worried that they entered their information into a website or gave it to somebody, and now they're having a hard time figuring out what's happened to their stimulus payment. So we are definitely hearing about that. So do not give your personal information over. So the bottom line here is, before giving out money, before talking to anybody before giving money or information in response to anything related to the pandemic, just stop and talk to somebody. you're less likely to fall for a scam if you talk to somebody, really even any person. They can help you sort it out and figure out if the offer that you just received is false. And then if you do wind up paying money for a scam, or if you wind up just encountering a scam, maybe you didn't pay money, maybe you didn't lose anything to it, let us know. It's so important for the FTC to know what's going on in the marketplace. Most people who file reports with us tell us that they haven't lost any money, which is great. That means that they've done exactly the right thing. They've spotted the scam, they've avoided losing the money, and they're reporting it. So how can you do that? Please file a complaint with us at ftc.gov/complaint. And if you want to learn more about this, of course, you can always subscribe to any of our updates. Sign up at ftc.gov/subscribe for any of our updates. And again, that's ftc.gov/subscribe. We do have coronavirus-related advice in multiple languages, so it's available not just in Spanish and English, but also in Korean, Tagalog, Simplified Chinese, Traditional Chinese, Vietnamese. So please check those resources out if those are resources that will help someone in your community.
That's it.
So thanks. I'm happy to take questions.
Okay, there's already a bunch of questions and comments in the chat, and we're gonna go back now. So the first question from Raymond Tyler. Do you want to ask your question, Raymond? Can you unmute?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. I think you already answered it though. Hello, Monica. Good to see you again. We met a few years ago at WHYY in Philadelphia, and I had the opportunity.
I remember you.
Great to see you again. But my question was, I guess it's safe to assume, and you said that the government will not be contacting us via email, text, or anything like that.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. The government is not going to be contacting you, especially with regard to your stimulus payment. What the IRS is doing is they're depositing those stimulus payments or sending a letter. That's what you can expect.
Yeah, you can't emphasize that enough. Okay, we'll go to another question. Let's see, June Nukum. June Nukum, you have a question? Can you ask your question, please? June?
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'd like to know if there are scammers related to COVID-19 that have been apprehended, and if they are, how many, and have charges been filed against them, and what are developments on these charges?
So there are a lot of law enforcement agencies that are taking this very seriously and are going after people who are breaking the law with respect to all kinds of coronavirus-related issues. So I mentioned a couple of cases that the FTC has already filed, and you can certainly find them on our website. Again, I'll direct you to ftc.gov/coronavirus. And those are just FTC actions. But you'll notice that with some of those actions, we're doing them jointly with our sister law enforcement agencies, like sending out warning letters with the FDA to the people who are promoting cures, coronavirus cures and treatments without scientific evidence. We've sent out letters jointly with the FDA. You can find them again on that website. As well as we've sent some joint warning letters with the Federal Communications Commission for VoIP providers regarding robocalls that mention coronavirus particularly. So again, you can find those on our website, ftc.gov/coronavirus, mentions all of those, as well as the warning letters to the MLM companies. I believe that the Department of Justice has also filed some cases. That's not an agency where I work, so I'm hesitant to give you any more information about what they've done, but I'm sure they have information on their own site.
Thank you, Monica. We have a question from Henrietta Burrows.
find that some companies will simply close up one scam site and open up another one and continue to operate once they've been discovered?
We are getting complaints about that, yes. And we are seeing those. These present typically as online shopping complaints, where people order some good. Sometimes it's a very scarce good, a good that's in high demand. Things like hand sanitizer and toilet paper, you know, sort of things like that. People will pay money to try to get their, you know, to get some supply of that, and then learn later that the site has been taken down and now they can't find that website anymore. And so they never get delivery of their goods. So two pieces of advice on that. First, if you want to avoid this kind of thing, the first thing you can do is, you know, before you order online from a website that you don't know, before you do that, check it out on the Better Business Bureau site. The Better Business Bureau will list entities that are up and running and that are entities that are engaged with them, right? So that's one thing. Always check it out on the Better Business Bureau site. But what happens if you've already paid money? Well, so if you've already paid money frequently, you've paid money with a credit card, you do have rights with your credit card. You can file a chargeback dispute with your bank, and tell your bank, I never received that good. That was fraud, and so this is you should treat this as an unauthorized transaction, and I should not have to pay for that transaction.
Sandy, I think you have a question. We can't hear you.
I have to be unmuted. Very anxious to know whether you are seeing an overall increase in scams because of the pandemic, or simply a shift in the focus of scams. In other words, has the pandemic opened up Pandora's box for scammers? And is there a major increase, or is it more like they've shifted their focus?
Yeah, it's really the latter. There has been a shift in direction here. I cannot say that we've seen an increase or a resurgence in higher numbers of fraud overall. But we are seeing, as you can see from our analysis of the complaints that mention the coronavirus in some way, that there is a shift in focus. And what you're seeing with that is exactly what I started with. Scammers follow the headlines. They are looking at what people are fearful about, worried about, concerned about. They're looking at that topic, and that's the pin that they're using to try to get your attention, and to try to get your money, and to try to get your personal information. So that is what's going on there. It has not been an overall increase in fraud complaints, however.
A quick follow-up to that. Is there a tendency to focus on a certain income group, like wealthier people or middle-class people, or are poor people disproportionately impacted by these scams?
That is such a great question, and I wish I had finer analysis on that and on the socioeconomic characteristics of the people who file complaints. We don't ask people that kind of information when they file a report with us. Rather, we just try to get details about the complaint. So I can't say that I can't say that there has been a disproportionate impact. If there has been one, it's not apparent to us right now. We do want everybody to know that scams affect every community, every single community. There is no community that is insulated either by their education, by their age, by their wealth status, by their income. Every single community is targeted for scams, and you can count on that.
Okay, great. Frank Blanquette has a question. Frank, can you ask your question, please?
Yeah, amongst the hardest hit communities are Native American communities. The Navajo Nation, for example, has the third largest per cap cases of COVID-19. And there's a lot of, there are a lot of accounts that have been set up that claim to help or be raising funds to help the Navajo Nation. Sites like GoFundMe and stuff like that. How do you, if communities want to donate to the Navajo Nation, for example, or to organizations that are indeed helping them, how can community members be aware of which ones are legitimate and which ones are fake sites?
That's another great question. So we recommend that people look at the Wise Giving Alliance, which is a part of the Better Business Bureau again, and which does have more information that can help guide people who really do want to help.
Okay, great. We had a question that I jumped over here from Alentejar newspaper. Alentejar newspaper.
Yeah, hi, how are you? Thank
Hi.
you. Hi, how you doing? Thank you,
Good.
everybody, to give us this opportunity to be with you today. My question, it was last night, exactly almost about this situation. One of the Arabic community sent me a link yesterday. It's talking about, somebody sent him this link. It offered him to sign for a car wrap offer, and it showed that it has Petco supplies and stuff. And he already by mistake, he signed, and within 2-3 days, they sent him a check with $2,500, and they asked him to give $2,000 to the guy. He's gonna come wrap the car in 2 days, and to get $500 every single week. Okay. Yeah, and I have the link and all these things. I would like for Ms. Monica to talk about that.
Have you heard about
So
this?
I'm not sure I understood exactly what the hypothetical, what the situation is, but it sounds like he was given a check for more money than he was supposed to receive, and he was being asked to send some of it back. Is that right?
Yes.
No, actually, the thing is, also he received the check by FedEx within 2 days, and the thing is, they are very confused if they have to deposit the check, not to deposit. Is that a scam or not? That's the thing, because why they have to pay $2,000 for someone he's gonna come wrap the car, which is there is no, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. So what this is this sounds very much like a fake check scam. And we have actually recently written a report about fake check scams, specifically relating to car wrap issues as well. So what happens is basically it's presented like it's going to be some kind of an opportunity to earn some money. You're going to earn some money by by having this advertising on your car, and we're going to send you a check, and then you're going to pay somebody to put the car wrap on your car, and then after that you're going to be able to earn this money just by driving your car around. What happens is if you deposit that check is ultimately going to bounce. It will not bounce immediately. It takes the banks a long time, and by a long time I mean several days, a week, 2 weeks. It takes them a long time to detect that the check is false. It will look like it has cleared. So the banks are required to make funds available to people so that they can use the money that they have deposited into their bank account. However, if that check bounces, the bank is coming after you for that money. So what happens is people deposit the check, they pay the $2,000 for the car wrap or whatever amount of money it is for the car wrap, supposedly the car wrap that is supposed to happen, and then the check bounces, and what they learn at the end is that now the bank is charging them for the $2,000 And they have just sent $2,000 to a scammer.
All right. Okay, well, now you know. We're going to go on. We're going to go a few more minutes in English because we have such good questions coming up. So, Anthony at Vincula, can you ask your question, please?
Yeah, it is.
Anthony, can you ask your question? Tony.
Oh, yes. Sorry. Yeah, so my question, Monica, since this is a global pandemic, does the FTC have the authority to go after scams that stem from foreign countries but proliferate around the US?
A good question. Thanks, Oni. So we do. So the FTC does sue companies, whether they're based in the US or in another country. And sometimes we work with our law enforcement partners, in foreign countries to make that happen and to get that extra on the ground cooperation. A lot of this, so we do have the authority to do it here in the United States. The tricky question is, what can you do if all of the assets are abroad? It becomes harder to just get those assets that are abroad and then also to make any kind of an injunction that we get against the company or the individuals to make that stick. So those are some of the law enforcement challenges. But we absolutely do go after them. And when we get international cooperation, which we frequently do, we can be far more effective.
Okay, great. We're going to take one more question in this segment. And let's see, Amar Gupta, you have a couple of good questions here. Can you just ask them quickly, both of them?
Yeah. Good morning, Monica.
Morning.
Oh, my question was related to arsenic. It's a homeopathic medicine that a lot of people are claiming as a preventive or a possible treatment for COVID-19. So is there a way to verify this? Is this for real? Is this a scam? We don't know, but a lot of people are actually falling for it in the community. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I don't know of any substance that has been approved as an effective treatment for COVID-19. And as far as I know, there aren't any. So when people are selling you, some kind of a cure, some kind of a treatment and saying that it has these properties and it will cure you, the question for them is, what's the scientific evidence behind that? And where can I find those scientific studies? Right now, according to the CDC, there are no treatments and cures that are effective at treating COVID-19. And so those we think are probably false offers.
Thank you so much, Monica. Thank you so much, everyone. We are going to move on to the Spanish language section of this telebriefing. So, aquellos de ustedes que quieran quedarse para la parte en español, por favor, háganlo. Y los que no quieran, muchas gracias por estar con nosotros. We're moving on to the Spanish language segment of this call now.
Could I just interrupt with one request, that all of the questions that people filed in their chat box, we will send those on to the FTC and try to respond. So sorry we weren't able to include all the questions.